Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, where we talk about running backs rankings, part two. It is Thursday, May 16th, 2019. My name is Morgan Colby, and I got Rick Lemon with me. We are going to discuss running back rankings from 11 to 20 today.
Yeah.
This will be our last episode on running backs. We move on to wide receivers next week, and then our first mock draft of the year.
That's going to be fun.
Going to be a lot of fun. But before we move into this episode, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the FF Champs, Instagram at the FF Champions. At the Fantasy Champions. I said at the FF Champions. I screwed that up. And go over to facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions and like us over there. Subscribe wherever you listen: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Make sure you click the bell on YouTube to get notifications, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. I have a quick question for you before we move into our rankings.
What's up?
What running back competition are you most looking forward to during training camp and the preseason?
Dude, it's obviously Alvin Kamara versus Latavius Murray.
100%.
All right, for me...
Agreed. Moving into the...
Very quickly, I'll just say I think it's the Browns. I think Nick Chubb is clearly the guy. However, if Kareem Hunt really impresses the Browns during training camp and preseason, when he comes back in week 10, is it?
Yep.
When he comes back in week 10, is Nick Chubb still going to be the guy? Is he still going to be RB1 level fantasy player? It'll be interesting to see that competition for me personally and for Browns fans and for fantasy owners of Nick Chubb.
It's interesting because I think as we break down, like I started statting out the Cleveland Browns the other day, and I'm like, what do I do with Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb, and it is going to be very intriguing. I think any progress that Kareem Hunt makes in convincing the team that he should be the main back will get completely destroyed when Nick Chubb steps on the field week 1. And like he's got 10 weeks to prove himself.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I don't know if he'll actually be able to do that. The only thing where when this whole situation is going to be decided is going to be week 10 in the NFL season. So, it is very intriguing to watch that situation. One of the running back situations that I'm watching right now, and I'm most looking forward to seeing what happens, is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, everyone's like, Damian Williams, give me some Williams.
That's me.
Yeah, no. I am okay with Damian Williams not being good. There is a running back competition there. They have 2 undrafted free agents. They have a drafted running back, Carlos Hyde, and this other guy, Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams, I've never heard of.
Darrell Williams or Damian Williams? Who you got?
There's 3 Williams on that team, by the way.
Gosh, that's going to get confusing.
Josh Williams, Darrell Williams.
Dude, imagine playing
Williams.
Madden trying to be Damian Williams. That's going to be awful.
Yeah, terrible. I love this running back situation because they drafted this man named Darwin Thompson. He's got the same structure, build, measurables, like almost identical as Kareem Hunt. They drafted him in the 6th round, so I don't expect much to happen. Like I said, the 6th round kind of turns that off. He's a running back that in most drafts probably wouldn't even have been taken, but he chose this draft to come out because it was a light running back class, which means he was going to get drafted. He's an all-purpose back. He can run. He can run as a workhorse. He can catch the ball. He does a lot of things well. And I think that he's more talented than people give him credit for. As a 6th round draft choice, a lot of people are like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna. This guy's not gonna take over the role." He might, because he only has to leapfrog an old man.
Yeah,
Carlos
that part
Hyde,
probably won't be too hard.
and Damian Williams, who was the 3rd running back on the Chiefs roster last season.
Yep.
So if he has a really good camp, this is a guy that people could be talking about heading into the season, and a guy that after week 1, like the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years ago, after who's the guy before this? Jamal Charles. When Jamal Charles ended up falling apart, getting torn his ACL twice, people thought Spencer Ware was going to be the guy.
Spencer Ware, yeah.
Spencer Ware was going to be the guy. Who's the guy right now?
Damian
Williams. So they drafted Kareem Hunt. Now, I understand he was drafted in the late third round, but they drafted Kareem Hunt, expected him to be that guy, but they were still going to roll with Spencer Ware, so Kareem Hunt was just supposed to be this guy. He won the job in camp. He had a great preseason. Started week one. Week one of that season, he had 40 fantasy points. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs do to running backs. So if we're talking week 2 about Darwin Thompson and how he's on the waiver wire and everyone's trying to grab him, and I already got him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, either that or you passed on Damian Williams and he's going to be the baller.
I'll pass on Damian Williams all day. Let's move into our early 2019 QB rankings.
Don't you mean running back, Chief?
I'm sorry. There's always something on notes that I forget to change, and right there it says QB. I read what's on the script, boss. I read what's on the script.
Are you saying you're scripted?
Are you saying you're scripted? Everything I say is fed to me like on ESPN.
There's actually someone standing right behind me.
Yeah,
holding notes.
They're giving me notes.
Yeah.
Early running back rankings for 2019. We will discuss 11 to 20, and let's get started. Number 1 or number 11 on our list is Leonard Fournette. I think we finished off with James Conner.
Yes.
So I had him ranked. I have Leonard Fournette ranked 12. You have him 11, and the ECR has him at 15.
Yeah.
The real disagreement is not between us; it's between the experts. To rank him at 15, I think is a little bit too low. He's the only back in Jacksonville. He's the workhorse, and they want him to be the workhorse. And his only problem over the course of his 3 seasons in the NFL has been the fact that he has gotten injured, or 2 seasons. I don't remember. But his only problems has been injury, and he's kind of overrated. I saw this post the other day on Instagram that kind of was a little bit intriguing. Todd Gurley in his first year, rookie season, great year. Second year, kind of fell off a little bit, finished as an RB2. Everyone was like, no, I'm not going to draft him. So ended up going late in the 3rd round. That was the year I drafted him. He went off, and I had Zeke as well. Leonard Fournette right now is in that same boat. Year 1, breakout. Year 2, injuries. Lots of problems. Guys looking at him saying, oh, well, he burned me last year. I'm not going to draft him. He's a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, right? He's a 3rd or 4th round pick right now. And when you look at Leonard Fournette, is it the same situation as Todd Gurley was just a year ago, where he completely flipped the script? He had a great season. He finished in the top 5. I think he was the number 1 running back in fantasy. I don't think Leonard Fournette's going to do that.
No.
But where he ends up being a top 10 back, and the ECR, the experts, and everyone was saying, oh, he's 15 to 20. He's in tier 3 or 4. He's not really that great of a running back. And you grab him in the 3rd or 4th round, and you're like, this is the guy.
Leonard Fournette, I love him. I've got a big Leonard Fournette in my pants. Dude's a stud. And what I love, too, about Fournette is he's going to get, like Carlos Hyde was there last year, Fournette's going to get an insane amount of touches.
Yeah.
And people forget, going into last year, too, he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
I think people seem to forget that. And he was, like, right there with Kareem Hunt. He was going middle to late first round. Like, he was, expectations was RB1. And he had injuries.
A bunch of injuries, a bunch of problems.
Yeah, and now he's fully healthy, ready to go into year 3, which is the big year for running backs.
Yep.
And he's going in the late 3rd round.
Yeah.
Come on now. Buy high.
Buy him now. Number 2. My God. Number 12 on our rankings is Nick Chubb. We just discussed some of the situation with Nick Chubb. I have him ranked 11. Rick, you have him ranked 13, and the ECR has him ranked 11. Nick Chubb is an interesting guy. He's going late in the 2nd round right now. He's a guy that is definitely a piece on your team that you could add late in that 2nd round as your 2nd running back. The concern is when Kareem Hunt does come back, what happens with Nick Chubb? And no one has a real answer because the only person that knows what's going to happen is Freddie Kitchens and John Dorsey. Like they're like, oh yeah.
And even then, they probably don't have a full plan. They're like, oh, we'll just use them both.
If Nick Chubb was the full-time back and he was not, there's no
Kareem Hunt didn't exist on that team.
Yeah, he would be like to me he would be like the 7 or 8 running back.
He'd be in the same tier with David Johnson.
Before Kareem Hunt signed, that's where he was, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That's where he was going off the board at least. So I like Nick Chubb. I ranked him at 11. Why did you rank him at 13?
Kind of for the things that I was saying earlier, just the Kareem Hunt stuff. That's really it. That just puts a slight concern for me where it's like, there's a part of me where it's like, if he comes back, is Chubb going to be a workhorse? I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough.
And so that's the only thing that concerns me. I'm still taking him though. If he's there at the end of the second round, and I need a running back, I'm not so disconcerted with Hunt that it doesn't allow me to take Chubb. Yeah. But that's why I have him ranked a little lower than like Fournette.
I think for me, Nick Chubb is going to be. When I was statting out the Browns, I kind of looked at some numbers, and I think the way that the Browns will use Kareem Hunt, at least for the short time that they have him, because he's not coming back after the season that he. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll re-sign with the Browns. I hope not. But anyway, I think they'll utilize him in the same role as like a Tariq Cohen. And I think that they will use him as the pass-catching back because Nick Chubb really struggles with that. He's really good on the ground, but he can't do much else.
So does that concern you then? That PPR?
Does concern me. In a half PPR setting, Nick Chubb is a guy that
with Baker Mayfield too and Odell, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
It looks like Nick Chubb could be a guy that is ranked a little bit too high, but at the same time, I really do like him. I think he can improve. His hands will improve this year, and I think he'll get more targets. It's really just what you do. He can catch the ball well. It's what you do after you catch the ball that matters in the passing game. Yeah. Number 13 on our list is Dalvin Cook. ECR has him 12. You have him 12. I have him 13. The only reason why I have him 13 is because there's 2 running backs that I would take ahead of him, and that's Leonard Fournette and Nick Chubb.
Right.
Simple as that. Dalvin Cook, to me, has a lot of upside, but the problem with Cook is that he's moving closer to that first round than would allow me to feel comfortable drafting him. When we ended the fantasy season last year, Dalvin Cook was a 3rd round pick. Now he's picked 204. And that is, he's ADPing at 204. So that is a little bit concerning for me because he's a guy that's extremely talented, but he has had so many injuries in the first 3 years of his career.
Yeah.
He's got all the opportunity in the world. He's the number 1 back in Minnesota. He can be this guy that we want him to be.
Latavius Murray's gone.
Latavius Murray's gone. He is the guy. If he doesn't in his 3rd year come out, break out,
right?
And have like a big year, then that's it for Dalvin. Not it for Dalvin Cook. He's got a great year. He's still probably got a good career ahead of him, but like he's got to be the workhorse. He has to be.
This is a guy that you take a flyer on if you take him in the 2nd round, but he does have.
I don't even want to waste a pick on him in the 2nd round. Like if I'm taking flyers, I would take him in the 3rd or 4th round. But like right now, as a 2nd round pick.
He's going in the 2nd round.
Yeah, he's going in the 2nd round. Like that's why for me, he's one of the guys in the 2nd round that I'm actually avoiding. Because you got Joe Mixon at 202 and Dalvin Cook at 204. Which one are you taking?
Joe Mixon. 100% Joe Mixon there.
All right, guys behind him, Dalvin Cook or Nick Chubb. Chubb's going 207.
I might take Cook. It's close. That one's a coin flip for me.
Right.
I just
because you ranked Dalvin ahead of Nick Chubb.
Right. You know why? Because for what I said with Hunt and Chubb, that situation, and the biggest thing that I talk about with fancy running backs is opportunity.
Fancy.
Dalvin Cook is gonna he has
all the opportunity in the world. Don't screw it up, Dalvin.
In front of him, he has an absolute beautiful path. Can he walk the path?
Yeah. He finished last season.
It's too tempting for me not to put him ahead of Chubb.
One of his last games, he finished with 30 fantasy points. I just think he's 1 round too early.
He shows flashes all the time.
Yeah.
Of being an RB1.
It's far too early. Like for a guy who's never finished as an RB1, it's far too high. And that's why I think he might break out. But he's one of the guys I'm avoiding in my drafts just because of where he's being drafted. If he was one round one round later, I'd be all over him. But as far as 1 round does make a difference just because of the guys sitting around him. And your strategy, you draft a running back in the first round. Do you want to draft a running back in the second round or a wide receiver? There are so many guys, including wide receivers, that I would put ahead of Dalvin Cook as a second round draft pick than just taking him and going, oh, I got Dalvin Cook, great job. No.
Yeah.
If he was in the third or fourth round, he would be at the top of my list. But because he's in the second, there are so many guys that can produce ahead of him that it's just not even worth it. Number 14 on our list, Marlon Mack of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I love Mack.
Yeah, you do.
I love Mack. I have him 14. You have him 14. ECR has him 13, so they love him more than us.
Wow, that's crazy.
Marlon Mack, I think, can finish as a big-time RB1. I think he can finish in the top 6.
Oh, wow. Really?
I do. I think
that's where I disagree with you. This is where the Mac, the Mac love is just...
Marlon Mack right now is, unfortunately, the strategy that I'm constructing for myself, for my fantasy team, doesn't fit the Marlon Mack bill. Makes me sad. Marlon Mack right now, 212, early third rounder in 10-team leagues. He's a second rounder in 12-team. I don't want to draft Mack in that round because I don't feel like if I go 2 running backs, right?
Yeah.
Round 1, round 2, I go running back. I can't draft a third running back.
I mean, with you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With me, I could take 3 running backs
know.
for his 3 rounds. But if you're building your team, reasonably, I'll take 3 running backs all day. But we're trying to help people win fantasy championships, Rick.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, taking
Marlon Mack, taking him in the 3rd round. The strategy works if you go wide receiver, if you go running back round 1, wide receiver round 2, running back round 3. But it just depends on what run is happening. You know what I mean? If you have a massive run on wide receivers, and you're in the 3rd round and the run on wide receivers is still going, then take Mack in the 3rd round. You know what I mean? Don't follow that run of wide receivers and just empty that tier. Because I think when you look at Marlon Mack, right, we have our tier 2, we have our tier 1 guys, the top 6. We have our tier 2 guys, which I think stop at James Conner.
Yeah.
And then you have your tier 3 guys, Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Marlon Mack, Devonta Freeman. Those guys are the tier 3 guys.
Yep.
And so if people are emptying the tier 3 of wide receivers, then just wait and draft Marlon Mack. Don't follow that empty. Let's get to tier 4 wide receivers and keep drafting and leave Marlon Mack on the board. No, I love Marlon Mack. I think he's going to be fantastic this year.
Yep.
He showed signs of he's a really good player. I don't know if he had any injury problems. I think he did. He was out for some games this year.
In the beginning of the year, I believe.
But if he stays healthy, he stays on the field, he plays a full 16 games, I think he does have that potential to enter into the top 8, top 6 of running backs and take that leap. And I think especially in an offense that is much more improved. Funches and all these. Right. I can't keep going, but you have some really good talent, and I think that Marlon Mack is going to benefit from that. He's a pass catching back. As much as people want to discount his pass catching ability, which I think would be the one problem because they do have Naheem Hines. And that guy is the pass catching back of the century. He's the James he's the James White of the Indianapolis Colts at this point. Yeah. And if he takes those away from Marlon Mack, that's the one reason why I think he could more than likely finish as a high-end RB2. But that's my only concern with Marlon Mack. He really does everything well, and if they utilize him properly, he could be a top 10 back.
My only concern, I think, is what you said, and then injuries too. He has had a history of not fully staying on the field, and he's never, I think, had a full 16-game season either.
Yeah, right.
Where he's just been legit, but he has shown flashes his whole career that he can be really, really good. And I love this whole Colts team this year. So
yeah,
I'm on the Marlon Mack train.
Oh, 100%.
We're rolling.
Number 15 on our rankings, Devonta Freeman. We talked about him a little bit on our last show on Tuesday. I have him ranked 15. You have him ranked 15. The ECR is 19. People don't like Devonta Freeman, and people don't like Leonard Fournette. Please take note of that, fantasy champions. Please take note, because You're going to come into the third and fourth round, and you're going to have these two names on the board.
Yep.
These two names can spell the difference in winning a fantasy championship this year. People are going to sit here around Devonta Freeman and Leonard Fournette. They're going to take guys by the likes and with the names that people remember from last year. That
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Damian Williams. You're going to see Mark Ingram,
Tariq Cohen.
Phillip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen, Kerryon Johnson. Some of these guys are going to come off the board then, and you're going to pass up Leonard Fournette, and you're going to pass up Devonta Freeman, and then you're going to see these two guys break out and say, why did I draft the other guy? Don't do that, and just listen to us and draft them.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Wow. Bulletproof.
Bulletproof, yeah. That strategy is just follow whatever we're saying.
Because we're always right.
Yeah,
100%.
That's never true. These rankings will probably change in like a month.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Freeman, no more Ito Smith, no more Tevin Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
They just got Ito Smith. They have all the opportunity in the world for Devonta Freeman. He's gonna be the 3 down workhorse back, the guy in Atlanta. Yeah. This is his chance. Stays on the field. Here's the thing, like you said, opportunity.
Right.
Opportunity. Yep. And if he stays on the field, the guy is going to get 200 fantasy points, 220 fantasy points in standard leagues. I factor in your half PPR. But he's going to get around 250 fantasy points in all formats. And I think that for Devonta Freeman to score that many fantasy points for you, and he gets back to that this year, that's huge. And
if you're taking him in the 4th round.
Especially in the 4th round.
Yeah. I mean, Devonta Freeman, again, similar to Fournette, people forgot. Like this guy's been consistently a late first, early second round pick for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
and then he has an injury,
and he just falls right off.
He just even with Tevin Coleman leaving, the guy that's been almost borderline splitting
he's still
snaps,
a 4th round pick,
and Freeman doesn't jump at all.
Yeah,
like this is a guy that people are sleeping on big time.
Like I could see him. I mean, there's not much more not much more wiggle room I could give him in terms of moving him up. I might move him ahead of Marlon Mack at some point.
Yeah, I don't think you ever
but,
will do that.
Yeah, no, I won't do that.
It's your
but,
boy
I mean,
Mack.
the only two guys that I could see on my personal boards of moving him up to is past Marlon Mack and Dalvin Cook. Those are the only two spots that I would move him up past as far as my draft rankings. Because I would definitely take Fournette, Nick Chubb in the top 10 ahead of him. So as far as Freeman is concerned, 4th round draft pick, the value matches. You know what I mean? He's ranked 15 on our boards, and he's getting drafted as the 19th running back off the board. That's insanely good value. Number 16 on our draft board. This is where we this is a point. The next couple picks are a point of disagreement.
Okay.
I had Josh Jacobs, who is our number 16 running back, ranked 16.
Yeah.
You have him ranked 19.
Okay, a little lower.
ECR has him ranked 27.
Ooh.
There's not a lot of Josh Jacobs love. I'm not feeling it. Especially after Elijah McGuire tore his Achilles and they brought in Doug Martin, who blew last year, by the way, when he was the only running back on the team left. Josh Jacobs is going to come in and basically play the Marshawn Lynch role. That's what his job is going to be. He's an all-purpose back. He can do everything well. He has basically no injury history. He only, like when he was at Alabama, he was the 2nd running back, and he was insane he split snaps with Damian Harris, but he has basically no wear on his knees, and he's no wear on his legs at all. Mm-hmm. He's a really exciting pick for me. He's a rookie, so you got to temper that, but I think this is the exact range that Josh Jacobs will finish next year as an RB2. And I think that, like we've said, opportunity equals, it doesn't. Josh Jacobs is talented. You're obviously, in order to be a 1st round running back, you have to be talented. That's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So he's talented. And he's also going to get 250 to 300 touches. So if that's also the case, you put the puzzle pieces together, the ECR rank of 27 should be a little bit more.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs is he's going to be a really good running back. I think the big thing for me is it's the amount of carries and opportunity that he's going to get in Oakland that really, if he went to the Baltimore Ravens instead, I would not feel the same about Josh Jacobs. I'd be like, oh no.
Him and Ingram.
Yeah,
split snap.
him and Ingram and Gus Bus.
Oh
and
gosh,
everyone.
yeah. No, I agree with you with the opportunity, and that's, I think, one of the big things. That is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
When it comes to running backs, what I would say, just to put a slight breaks, we have them similar, 16, 19, not too far off.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why I don't have him 16 is the rookie running back a little bit concerns me. The offensive line.
Saquon was a rookie running back. Philip Lindsay was undrafted, and he went 12.
That's true, but I don't think Josh Jacobs is Saquon Barkley, though.
No.
And I think
definitely not.
the Giants' O-line wasn't good, but I think the Raiders might be worse. And I know they added a few guys, but
their offensive line is a lot better.
I want to see it. But I do. I mean, I really do like Josh Jacobs and the opportunity he's going to get, and the talent that he has.
I think Josh Jacobs is suffering from Oakland Raider hate because there's so many people like
they're like
Oakland Raider hate started the second they traded Khalil Mack, and it is just transferred into every decision the organization has made. Like they gave the Raiders an F on their draft grade because they drafted Cleveland Farrell.
That pick was a little early.
But if that's what you believe, they should have traded back. But it wasn't the smartest pick. Them and the Giants with Daniel Jones. But you look at the draft. They didn't have a bad draft. Cleveland Farrell is a good player. Josh Jacobs is a good player. They got a wide receiver. Like they did all the things they needed to do in the draft, and they didn't fail that miserably.
They sneak offensively. They're sneakily. Have a lot.
No, I know. I think people just need to stop hating on the Raiders for a second. Like, put down your riot sticks and freaking take Josh Jacobs. I do like Josh Jacobs. Derrick Henry, number 17 on our list. I have him ranked 19. You have him 17. The ECR has him at 16. I want to like Derrick Henry, but I don't like the fact that there's a lot of Patriot veins in the coaching staff. And they signed Dion Lewis last year. They brought him in, and they got a lot of running backs on that roster. And they seem to not really know how to use their running backs. Now, they figured out how to use Derrick Henry. They're going to utilize him a lot next season. My only concern is that Derrick Henry turns into a complete flop.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where that happens. Derrick Henry is like an NBA three-point shooter. If he's hot, he hits every single three he takes. If he's cold,
it's GG.
Yeah, good game. You're done.
Derrick Henry is like, you're so right. He's one of these guys that
he's just hot and cold.
You can take him in the fourth round, and get like an RB low end, RB1, high end, RB2. Yeah, you really can. You could also take him in the fourth round, and he's just like gonna be trash on the waiver wire in week 5.
The only reason why he finished as an RB2 last season is, did he finish as an RB1? I don't even know.
He might have.
I don't even know.
He had like the 340. But
the only reason why he
finished,
the only reason why he finished so high is because he had those 40-point games. Now, if he produces at a 15 to 20 point game pace and he actually gives you good numbers, then I think it's a good pick at 17. The reason why I'm avoiding him is because it's the Tennessee Titans offense, and there's just nothing.
Yeah, I don't think it got much better.
There's nothing for sure. I mean, they say they're building around Derrick Henry, but that could completely change in like 2 games. And it's like that's just how the Tennessee
I don't trust the
Titans
Titans either, but I do. I have him ranked a little higher than you. I do think. I have hope for Derrick Henry. I'll just say that. I have hope for Derrick Henry.
I don't. If Derrick Henry is sitting on the board, I will not be drafted. The other thing is that for you and for me, I have him 19, you have him 17. And right now he's getting taken as the 16th running back off the board. So to me, he's moving past our valuation of him. Because we have him ranked together as the 17th running back. So he's getting drafted 16, which is not too far off.
I mean, one pick.
But at the same time, it's like that's slightly overvaluing for a guy who you don't know is going to be that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, like if there wasn't so many question marks around him, and you were like, okay, it's worth reaching.
Who has a higher ceiling? You think Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs for this year, not for the next few, but for this year?
That's a hard question.
All right, what about him and Devontae Freeman?
Who has the higher ceiling?
Yes,
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry or Devonta Freeman?
Yeah.
Devonta Freeman.
Okay.
Let's move on to number 18, Mark Ingram.
Another guy that
Mark
I really
burned
like.
me.
He did.
He burned me bad.
He
2
burned
years in a
you.
row, too. Way to go, Mark. I love Mark Ingram. I always have. I have him ranked 20. You have him ranked 18. ECR has him ranked 22. He's in the Baltimore offense, which is a plus for him because he's going to get the ball a lot. The concern is the amount of running backs that the Baltimore Ravens have. They drafted a running back. They brought in Mark Ingram. They still have Gus Edwards. They have so many running backs. And it's like, what are they going to do with them all? Is Mark Ingram actually going to be the feature back? Because when they originally assigned Mark Ingram, I was excited. I was like, this is Mark Ingram's job. Like, he finally gets his own job.
Right.
This is like, it's literally going to be a Mod Podge of like 7 different running backs.
Gosh, I hope not.
And if it is, Mark Ingram is going to fall.
See, here's
way
the thing, though.
down.
Here's why I have him a little higher than you, I think.
Why?
Is because, yes, they might use Gus. They might use
Gus bus.
They might use their other running backs. But you paid Mark Henry. You paid Mark Ingram. I was thinking WWE there for a second. You paid Mark Ingram to be the guy.
Yeah.
He left New Orleans to be the guy. I think he is going to get the most carries in that offense. In an offense that will run the ball a lot.
No, yeah.
You're lot. Right. So that's why I do think Ingram I'd be happy with picking Ingram where he's going right now.
The only concern is that the amount a team runs the ball kind of affects the amount a team runs the ball affects the amount of plays they run in a season. So obviously, if you run passing plays, you run a lot more plays as a team.
Yeah.
For the Baltimore Ravens, they're probably going to run somewhere. The average is like somewhere anywhere between 1,000 and 1,020 plays, offensive play calls. I think Baltimore could probably finish with like 900 to 950 play calls just because of the way they run their offense, which is not a bad thing. But if you're running that little plays, how much is Mark Ingram actually going to get? If he gets 15 to 20 carries a game and gets involved a little bit in the passing game, which I don't think there's going to be much of, but if he gets involved a little bit in the passing game, I think Mark Ingram could be a good back. But I think the best case scenario for Mark Ingram is low end RB2.
Yeah.
And that's mainly
I think Ingram,
behind.
though, sorry to cut you off. I just think
fine.
he has you said that very.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Whatever.
Sounds like my imaginary girlfriend when she's mad at me.
Imaginary girlfriend.
No, I think his ceiling is pretty high.
Yeah.
Meaning I don't if he could flop. Obviously, at this point in the draft, you're getting running backs. After really the top 10, top 15, anyone can flop. Even those guys can flop. So, but I think Mark Ingram, you're going to have a guaranteed, in my opinion, of being a low-end, mid-end RB2.
He's as close to a guarantee at RB2 as you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. A lot of these guys could completely bust out. And some of them could jump up. So it's like you get,
like Derrick Henry, for example, the guy we just talked about.
Like I said, like you're talking about, your tier 1 is 1 through 6. Your tier 2 is like 7 through 10.
Yep.
Your tier 3 is like Fournette, Chubb, Cook, Mack, Freeman. Then tier 4, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram. Like you start getting into that conversation of tier 4 running backs. I have my reservations on Mark Ingram. This week I think I'm statting out Baltimore, so we'll see how it works out and see how they actually do it. I mean, it's hard because they've run a completely different offense for all of John Harbaugh's or is it John Harbaugh? I don't even remember. There's 2 Harbaughs, one of them.
Yeah.
But Harbaugh has run a completely different system for most of his career as a coach, so it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him. Number 19. Kerryon Johnson, the Detroit Lions running back. My rank is 17 for him. You have him 22, and the ECR has him 21.
Yeah.
I do like Kerryon Johnson. I think he's a talented running back. If given the opportunity, he could finish as a high-end RB2.
He could, yeah.
Given the opportunity, and I say that very lightly. Detroit seems to blow it's another team with Patriot veins. They like to grab as many running backs as possible. C.J. Anderson, the starting running back killer.
He is, man. If they didn't pick up C.J. Anderson, he'd be so much higher in my list.
Oh, yeah. But I think them picking up C.J. Anderson affects it. I think they just don't know how to. And I said the same thing. Like, T.J. Hawkinson, we'll probably talk about him on our tight end shows. But he's a guy that, like I said, he's a guy that I'm avoiding just because he's on the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And he's kind of grown on me lately, but I need to watch that. And I love Kerryon Johnson. I like the wide receiver there, Kenny Galladay. I like all of it. It's not utilized properly.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know who their offensive coordinator is because I don't think, obviously Patricia's not calling any offensive plays.
No, he's not.
So Kerryon Johnson, I think he has the potential of finishing as a mid-range RB2, maybe even a high-range RB2 every time. That
was my alarm.
But I think he has the potential of finishing as a mid to high-end RB2 with the ceiling of like RB3.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. I'd probably... I'm looking
or like
at
the
my
floor.
top 25. I have him ranked 22 right now. I'd probably have him ranked like 20th.
Yeah,
a little bit higher, like ahead of. I have him like Sony Michel and Aaron Jones ahead of him. Probably put him ahead of Sony just because of the recent Patriots moves and having a gazillion running backs on the roster. But the only reason Kerryon isn't higher is for what you said with the don't trusting the Lions, C.J. Anderson, and he hasn't really fully proven it. But he hasn't. I do like him as a player though.
Yeah. Number 20, finally on our list, we have Damian Williams.
This is where we disagree.
D-Will. This is our biggest point of disagreement. There are so many running backs that I would take ahead of Damian Williams. It's unbelievable. If you want to say running back, we talked about the situation with running back earlier in the show, where I think it's a real possibility that the 6th round running back takes the role.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing to say, but I think it's a real possibility.
I think it's a real possibility, too. I just think it's unlikely.
If you want to rank Damian Williams 16 and just say Chiefs running backs...
Which is kind of what I'm doing. You'll hear me in a second. You'll hear me in a second.
I guess, but Damian Williams, number 20 running back. I ranked him 24. Rick ranked him 16. The ECR is 18. Damian Williams is ranked high because he's in the Chiefs offense. He has a lot, just that in and of itself is enough. I referenced at the beginning of the show the situation a couple years ago before Kareem Hunt took the job and absolutely ran with it. They had Spencer Ware, who was supposed to be the big back the year before. He didn't finish. I thought I was going to say 2015, but that's wrong. That was 2016. He was supposed to finish as this big-time running back. He didn't. He finished as like a low-end RB2. Now, the following year after that, Spencer Ware was supposed to be the guy, get full, the full job, be the guy, and then they drafted Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt took the job. I think Damian Williams is in the same role right now as Spencer Ware. He's the transition back for somebody else, whether that's Darwin Thompson, Josh Williams, or whoever else, whatever other running backs that they sign or grab. Whoever that may be, I think whatever running back starts for the Chiefs is going to be a good running back. I just can't justifiably... This is why I'm not taking Damian Williams. I have no Damian Williams hate. I don't really like him as a running back, but I have no Damian Williams hate whatsoever. It's more the fact that if I draft Damian Williams, right, and then he loses his job 3 weeks into Darwin Thompson or Carlos Hyde or whoever else is sitting behind him, right? If he loses his job to one of those guys, it was a big freaking waste of a draft pick.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the one reason why I'm not drafting him at all.
His bust level is high, but as you just said...
He's going as a second-round running back right now.
Chiefs running backs succeed. That's too high. Second round is too high.
Yep.
I will say that. But when he came in last year, you know what he does?
What?
He catches screens, and he runs full speed, and he gets in the end zone.
Yep.
To me... being in that Chiefs system where they love to use running backs, especially in screens, that's where he thrives. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the chances of someone taking his job
are very good.
I don't know about very good, but they're decent.
Think about it this way. When you picked up Jameis Winston this year, if you were streaming quarterbacks, you didn't pick him up to have him start the rest of the season because there was always the risk that he might not play another game in the season because they might bench him. And that's the same situation for Damian Williams. He'll get snaps. He'll get the opportunity. But is there any guarantees that Damian Williams, Kerryon Johnson's probably the starting running back. He might lose snaps to somebody.
CJ
Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Devonta Freeman, and so on and so forth are going to be starters. Do you know for a fact that week 1 of the NFL season, Damian Williams is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs running back?
I don't know for
Absolutely
a fact if Kerryon Johnson's going to be the Lions.
That's just bad coaching, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think I know that for a fact, but
That's specifically why
big
I'm
but
avoiding
here. I expect him to be the number 1 back. And if
you,
he is, he's going to succeed. He will put up points.
If you go out and draft Damian Williams, right? We do one of our leagues. We do our draft right after week 4 of the preseason, so we know. Okay, this is what the rosters are going to look like when we draft. A lot of people do it a little bit earlier. So,
we used to do it a little earlier.
You haven't reached cut downs yet. You haven't reached all that stuff. So you're kind of making guesses. If you draft Damian Williams and then later in the draft the handcuff. So say Darwin Thompson wins the second job, right? The second running back job.
Yeah.
And you draft Damian Williams. And then week 1, Damian Williams goes out. It's clear that he can't be the number 1 guy. And then Darwin Thompson comes in and lights it up. Then you end up winning on that. That's not a bad strategy, handcuffing whatever the number 2 running back is to Damian Williams. But I just can't. There's just so many, for me in fantasy football, question marks don't equal success in terms of, what you're going to get. If it's question marks the back end of the draft, like if Damian Williams was a 7th, 8th round draft pick, yeah, I'd take him probably. But right now he's a 2nd round pick. Even if he was a 3rd or 4th round pick, I'm not taking him.
See, that's where I think we disagree. Is I do agree with you with 2nd is too high, but you're saying 7th or 8th. I think that that's too obvious.
Here's my thing. I think everyone, and I keep saying temper excitement, but everyone needs to temper their excitement with the Chiefs offense. This wide receiver, Tyreek Hill's probably going to get suspended. So if and when that happens, this new wide receiver that they drafted, Mecole Hardman, hard name to say. He's going to come in, and people are expecting him. They literally are expecting him to be Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, he's not going to be.
He's not going to be Tyreek Hill. They're like, I'm going to draft him in the top 3 rounds but it's like that situation. People think Sammy Watkins is going to be not Tyreek Hill, but he's going to be a big time wide receiver 1. To me, if there's less talent on the team, Patrick Mahomes is just going to spread it to everyone evenly. It's not going to be.
Wouldn't that be a plus for Damian Williams?
No, it would not be a plus for Damian Williams
because he's not throwing to Tyreek Hill 50 times.
It's already been said that he doesn't usually run with this system. I'll give you this particular situation, but what's the fat man? I always forget this coach's name.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Thank you. I think it really depends on Andy Reid and if he really is going to go RBBC. Because if he does go RBBC, then that means that Damian Williams and Carlos Hyde and Darwin Thompson and 5 running backs are all going to share the backfield, and that's not a good look.
No, but honestly,
there's so much mess in the backfield. This is why I'm watching that spot.
Even if
because
they do
if Damian Williams wins the job and it's clear he's like the guy, then he'll be good. I'm not saying that Damian Williams is going to be good. If he starts every single game in 2019, if I could go in the future and get the sports almanac and find out how many fantasy points he got, if Damian Williams starts every game in 2019, he will be a RB2, maybe even a top 15 back. I think that's what Damian Williams can do. The reason why he's 24 on my board is because there's so many other running backs that I'd put ahead of him just because of the pure fact that they have their role. They have their job. We know what they're going to be. Damian Williams, we have no idea. I'm not taking the risk.
All right.
I'm not taking the risk. The Chiefs are such a mess right now. It makes me so sad.
No, it does not. Take that back.
Yeah, I hate the Chiefs. Yeah, you're right.
It makes me sad as a Mahomes lover.
Yeah. You stinking Mahomes. That will do it for our rankings of 11 to 20 for the running backs. Be sure to listen next week as we move on to ranking our wide receivers. I'm 90% sure we said we were going to do wide receivers this week.
Yeah,
we didn't. I'm sorry. I apologize. We will do.
It's called a teaser, bro.
Yeah, it's true. We will do wide receiver rankings next week, so be sure to listen. You got any closing thoughts for the weekend?
Weekend's always lit. That's what I'll say.
Except for you, because you work.
Don't party too hard, Christian McCaffrey.
That is not clutch. See you Tuesday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.